marshmallow generation, some people call them. Overstuffed and overindulged, they supposedly are incapable of hard work or response to challenge. Well, these are American kids you're watching.
How's everyone doing today? It is Coach Wilson, and I'm here for episode 5 of W.I.N Daily. Usually what I talk about here on this podcast is the business of sport, physical fitness, and finding ways to maximize performance in all facets of life. Today what I'm going to focus on is physical fitness, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic because this is the nitty-gritty of who I truly am and what it is that I do. I've been an imposter the last 3 months, trying to be a CEO, having a ton of meetings, and this executive work is very, very tedious. And so I'm very excited to kind of get back to basics. Why I want to discuss physical fitness is because I was doing some research recently, and what I came across was the fact that over 70% of Americans are overweight right now. 42% of those overweight Americans are actually classified as obese, and 21% of young children ages 12 to 19 are obese as well. And so what stands out to me with examining these numbers, as I reference this to something that is very alarming, is that more than 70% of Americans are deemed unfit to serve by military standards. And so the military has a handful of standardized testing as well as examining your body composition to see if you have the capacity to be a soldier. So if there were to be a case in which we were going to war, holy shit, we have a shortage of bodies. Now, you would never imagine that here in America just because of the demand of athletics and entertainment. And you look at the dominance in the Olympics, and we obviously breed freaks. But what about the average citizen? Now, this stands out to me because I do a lot of studying of presidents and historical figures. And I came across a lot of JFK's work, and he was on a pursuit to really kind of fight this physical fitness epidemic. And this goes back to the 60s. And so in 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower started the Council of Physical Fitness or Physical Education. The name has been changed countless times throughout the years, and the organization still exists today. However, I haven't seen a president really dedicate a lot of time and resources into it since JFK. And why he did was because he studied the Greeks, and they believed that physical activity led to emotional, spiritual, and mental health and a strong whole well-being, and it really drove vigor and energy into really optimizing performance. And so when we really think about a nation being as strong as its citizens in this obesity epidemic, where do we go to from here? And so one of my missions personally is to use education and sport as my platform to really make a difference in this world. But when we talk about education, we have to really direct that focus. And where I choose to direct my focus, not just necessarily right now, but in general, is nutrition and exercise. And so when we dive into exercise, we think of two things: physical fitness in the fitness industry as a whole, in sports. And just competing in sports is a really good way to, burn a sweat. Now, let's analyze the landscape of exercise right now, because you have basic calisthenics, and I'm going to dive into that because I feel like that is very much neglected. Weight training, different methods of kind of trying to find symmetry in the body and various mobility drills. And people are now adopting these philosophies as their meat and potatoes of working out, if you will. You can find band training like in the TB12 method. And there are people that, just do body weight training or yoga being, your primary mode of exercise. Now, why this stands out to me is because all these different subcategories of fitness are vying for what they believe is the ideal way to train. And I'm here to tell you that you need a little bit of all of it. There's no absolute, and that pertains to really anything. But as we talk about fitness, yeah, you got to do the body weight training. That's how you build the base. But then we're going to low when we're trying to build strength and we're trying to see real gains. You need the pliability and the mobility that you get from yoga, and your body needs to be symmetrical so that you can be biomechanically sound when you execute these movements. And so the one model that I feel like a lot of people are very familiar with is CrossFit. And I think CrossFit exercises are great because, you do a little bit of everything. And I'm someone that I would like to say I'm still fairly athletic at 28 years of age. But CrossFit has a lot of flaws. And where I want to start with is the fact that there aren't really proper progressions. It's like you do a hang clean and now you're just doing a whole bunch of hang cleans. So they might teach you how to do the proper technique of a clean in the beginning, but as you start diving into intense reps and sets and fatigue ensues, that technique is going to break down. And it's also very difficult to kind of track from a program design standpoint the amount of volume that you're getting done per session. So it becomes very difficult to really track data, and that's the foundation of all program design. Now, when I discuss technique, if you have a class full of 25 people and one coach, that coach can really only focus on a handful of people at a time. So somewhere along the lines, technique is going to start becoming very faulty, and that's what leads to injuries. And so as we look at as sports science has evolved over the course of the last 30, 40 years, where we have more resources and all this technology to directly correspond with us producing a better product, the thing that's happening is that we've happened to actually specialize a lot more. So like a football player is going to be focused on gaining speed, getting a lot stronger in the weight room. A basketball player is going to do plyometrics, jump, and hoop. However, as I discussed in the beginning, calisthenics. Now, I'm very much, a new school millennial, but I'm very much also a traditionalist, and I can sound like an old man at times. But you got to get these foundational exercises done every day. And so I actually go back and I watch these videos from the 1960s, and part of the curriculum that JFK made sure was implemented through public schools all throughout America. And these calisthenic programs, and you can call them they call it 12 minutes, or there's different things called the daily dozen, where you go, whether it be 12 minutes straight, or you're cranking out a series of 12 different exercises. And these things can be applied to really anybody. The casual businessman trying to get a workout in their office, a sports team as like a warm-up before practice. I mean, the list goes on. These exercises serve anybody. And it appears to me as if a lot of strength and conditioning coaches at the high school and collegiate levels have totally gotten away from these exercises that are like the foundation of properly progressing into loading your athletes. And so when I look at some of these videos, you see two things. You actually see them working on isometric neck mobility, which many believe now is a great preventative method to really combating concussions and head injuries. And you also see the toe touch. And I'm going to provide a little bit of a demonstration. And this exercise is great on so many levels. Standing up, I have a hinge here at the hip, and I'm just going down rapidly, and I'm touching my toes. Now, as I'm touching my toes, I'm working the flexibility of the hamstring, which is a very important muscle in working the posterior chain. And I'm also learning to hinge my hip and bend at the waist properly. And so, it is invaluable how much these exercises are really going to apply into just overall functionality and basic human movement. And so we've obviously seen these exercises diminish in physical education programs in high schools and colleges throughout America. And I believe that is by and large because of the fact that everybody wants attention. Everyone wants to lift the most weight. It's like, I want to get the scholarship. I want to go to the big college. I want fame. And so where sports were really great, in the early 1900s, all the way up to like the 70s or 80s, it was just about participating, playing for your school, or really just competing in PE class. And people used to take pride in that. And so now, as there's so much to be attained, on top of the fact that with social media, the trainer now is more about showing off what they can do and being an embodiment of their product as opposed to educating. And so another group that I see getting neglected as a byproduct of this is females and young women, and the participation of young girls, and how athletics or even something like dance can play a vital role in their development, whether it be just the physical grace, developing poise, or the economy of movement, and how that can have a direct correspondence into being not only more attractive, but feeling like, not necessarily feeling anyway, but having just more self-confidence, and not just females, but men included. And so, yes, I've addressed a handful of problems in regards to obesity and the lack of physical fitness being stressed in society and some issues in the industry. But I'm really here is to provide solutions. And so when I go on YouTube right now, every single day, all I see is transfer your business to a digital model, or check out this new digital fitness model. And they all tell me I can make money with digital personal training, but they have no systems, and they don't really tell me anything about the exercise that I'm gonna be providing for my clients. And so at the end of the day, physical fitness is really about education, and there's no barriers to entry in the industry anymore. But understand that it's far more than obtaining a certification over a weekend and saying, okay, now I can train clients. Newsflash, you can make a lot of money doing anything. But if you're gonna get into fitness training, you're far more of a scientist than you actually are a coach per se, or a gym teacher. And so you have to understand what the result is gonna be of doing a movement, and how there are mechanical principles that you must adhere to. And so I talked about a solution, and what I believe this solution is ABEL. And ABEL is a digital fitness platform that I've been fortunate enough to jump on board with. It's out of Norway. And this digital fitness platform provides the resources and the tools to allow a personal trainer or coach to not only distribute their product rapidly on their terms, but to really provide each one of their clients with the education in regards to what it is they need to do, whether it be via exercise or intaking the proper food, and also compatible technology to track the client's progress and hold them accountable. That's all I got today. I don't want to fill you guys in on ABEL a whole lot. I want you guys to know that technologies like ABEL do exist, and that is going to be the driving force as to how we tackle the physical fitness epidemic together. That's all I got. Coach Wilson here. Make sure you win the day.